This will be for the con exercise, shift functions. So just some notes before we begin. Okay, let's say we begin with a function f of x. If you take f of x and you add a, that shifts the function up a units. All right, and you'll see examples of that in a moment. If you take f of x and you subtract a, that shifts the function down a units. Okay, so both of these are pretty self-explanatory. We generally think of moving up on the graph in the positive direction and moving down on the graph in the negative direction. All right, now here is where it gets a tiny bit tricky. When you add or subtract within the parentheses, it actually shifts left, right, in reverse. All right, so if you take f of x and you add a within the parentheses, it does not shift right, it shifts left by a units. All right, and when you subtract a within the parentheses of f of x, it doesn't shift left, it shifts right a units. All right, so up, down, it works the way you would expect, but left, right, it's actually reversed. Okay, we think of moving right on the graph in the positive direction and moving left on the graph as the negative direction. But it's actually reversed when you add or subtract within the parentheses, as you will see in the problems. All right, first problem, the graph of the function f of x equals negative 1/4 x squared is shown on the grid below. Graph the function negative 1/4 x plus 3 squared in the interactive graph. Okay, so one of them's fixed and one of them we're doing ourselves. All right, let's see. So the function g of x is the same of f of x with the exception of this inside the parentheses. Okay, and recall in the notes we said when you add inside the parentheses, that actually shifts it left. All right, so this is x squared and this is x plus 3 squared. Everything else is the same. So this will make it shift left 3 units. All right, so we just take the original and move it left 3 units. That's all we're going to do. All right, so this one in gray is the original. I am going to match it up with the one in gray first. Okay, I put it exactly on top of the one that was there. And we said the plus 3 makes it shift left. All right, so I'm going to take this dot and move exactly 3 units left. 1, 2, 3. And the other dot, same thing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can see now they are exactly the same parabola, except one of them moved left by 3 units. All right, so that's it. All right, the graph of y equals f of x is a transformation of the graph of y equals g of x. All right, so f of x is in purple, g of x is in blue. Write a formula for a function f in terms of the function g. All right, let's see. So it has f of x equals, and here it's going to be g of x something. All right, because we're writing the function in terms of g. So let's see, they look like they're matched up. All right, they look like they're the same. And f is basically g, but it's shifted to the right. Okay, so you can pick any point almost. You can pick this point here, you can pick this point up here, because if they're the same, they just shifted. All right, so if you take this point here and you trace it down, it's at -3. And then if you take this corresponding point right here, you trace it down, it's at +6. Okay, so basically they took G, they took G of X, and they went from -3 to 6. So they shifted it right by 9 units. Okay, if you go from -3 to 6, that's going to be plus 9 units. But remember, when you move right, I'm sorry, let me say shift. When you shift right 9 units, if you remember from the notes at the beginning, that's going to be f of x minus 9. Okay, remember when you shift right, you subtract inside the parentheses. So that's what we have to do here, f of x minus 9. Okay, because we went to the right. So let's see. If you took g of x, and you did g of x minus 9, it would move it to the right and you would get f of x. So f of x is just g of x minus 9. So click in the box and type g of x minus 9. Okay, so basically we took the g function and minus 9, we moved it to the right 9 units. So g of x minus 9. All right, the graph of y equals absolute value of x is shown on the grid below. Okay, that's right here. Which of the following is the graph of y equals absolute value of x minus 1 minus 4? All right, we started with y equals absolute value of x. And now, when you do minus 1 inside the parentheses, let me make a little more room here. When you do minus 1 inside the parentheses, what that does, it makes it shift right 1 unit. All right, you subtract inside the parentheses, it makes it shift right. And then if you subtract outside the parentheses, this part here, that makes it shift down. Four units. All right, so this makes it shift right 1, this makes it shift down 4. So that's what we have to do. All right, so right 1 would be here, and then down 4 would be here. Okay, so the graph is going to be the same thing, but it's going to be at the bottom, the vertex is going to be at +1 and -4. All right, so we just have to find a choice that is basically like that. All right, it's not A, it's not B. Here we go. +1, -4. That's answer C. All right, you want to double check? Check D. D is at -1 and -4, so that's not it. It's clearly answer C.